Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Kristen, this is my booktube. Happy 2025! I know it has been a hot minute since I have uploaded literally anything, and there are reasons for that. We will get into them a bit later, but I needed a jumping off point to get back into posting on YouTube because it's been long enough and I want to start posting again, and I figured the best way to do that is to kind of update you guys about why I've been gone and what I've been doing, because I have been doing things. I haven't completely abandoned my reading goals or anything like that. I've still been doing things. I've still been filming things. I just have not had any time to edit and upload until now. So we're going to ease back into uploading on YouTube by just filling you in on what I've been doing for the last, I believe it's been like 75 days since I uploaded last. Yeah, it's been a while, but there are reasons and we will get into them. So I believe the last time we spoke, I did probably mention that my work life was in utter turmoil. And that is basically why I stopped uploading on YouTube. I have a full-time job. I work a 9 to 5, and we went through a big system overhaul conversion that did not go very smoothly. And it resulted in me having to work longer hours, and the work I was doing was quite frustrating because it had to do with systems that weren't working the way they were supposed to and troubleshooting those issues, all of that kind of stuff. So by the time I would log off from work and get home, the last thing I wanted to do was sit down at a computer for longer and edit a YouTube video. So for my own mental sanity, I stopped uploading on YouTube. Unintentionally, I initially thought I would just miss like a week or so and I would be able to pick it back up, but that did not happen. Things really didn't start getting better at work until like 2-ish weeks ago. But now that I feel like things are smoothing out a little bit, I'm getting more caught up, things are calming down to the level that they were pre-October, with some minor issues still afoot. I just felt like the new year was a good time to try and pick back up where we left off and jump back into it, because I do want to keep making videos. I'm not done making YouTube videos at all. I literally have been filming the entire 75 days that I've been gone. I just haven't had time to upload anything. So I have a lot of videos that I want to post on my channel because I did do a lot over the last 2 months. I went to the final night of the Eras show. I traveled to Seattle. I went to Vancouver. I bedazzled a whole bodysuit for my Eras show. I made an entire coat for the show. I picked up crocheting again. I made a lot of Christmas presents for my family, and there's just been a lot going on that you guys have not been privy to because I've been radio silent on this app. So we're gonna change that. And I do still want to upload those videos, even though, you know, it's past Christmas, it's past all of those events at this point. But nonetheless, I still want to upload them because I put a lot of effort into filming them, and I want to have that up on this website for me to look back on, for you guys to enjoy. So look forward to a lot of travel and craft content coming soon. Once I'm able to go through all of the stuff that I filmed and organize the clips, edit it down, I will be uploading those. I haven't decided yet if I want to just kind of randomly upload those as I finish them or make them part of my weekly upload schedule. I'm undecided on that. But what I do know is that we have a lot to catch up on the book front specifically. So I have my 2024 StoryGraph stats up on my computer right now. That's why we're at my desk. And I figured we could just go through the overall stats of the books that I read in 2024, considering there hasn't been much updating. I think the last time that we spoke, I was pretty far off from both of my goals. And I did end up making some progress. I did not hit my 50 book goal for the year, but I did still read a good amount of books, and I wanted to just share that with you guys. I did think about doing another tier list video, but I read a lot of mid books in 2024, so I feel like that wouldn't be that exciting if I were to do that. But what I was thinking is I could do just like a general review video of all 40 books that I read in 2024 and just kind of generally talk about what I rated them and why, if I can remember, instead of doing a whole tier list where most of the books are going to end up in the C tier because I read a lot of 3-star books in 2024. And I feel like that's part of the reason why I was having trouble meeting my reading goals. It was a combination of a string of mid books and then the whole debacle at work. It just really took the wind out of my sails reading wise, and I had a hard time catching back up, but we did still read a good amount of books in 2024. So I ended up reading 40 books in total. I can't remember what we were sitting at the last time I updated you guys, but I know it was in the 30s because I was sitting at 36 until like the last week of December. And then for the last like week or so of the year, I really pushed to try to finish most of the books that I started in 2024. There was only one that I didn't finish, and that is The Roommate Situation. And I just had too much of that left because that is one that I read when I can't sleep. So that one I've been very slowly working my way through for a good chunk of this year. And I'm reading it on my Kindle, so I have to sit down and physically read it. I do want to try to finish that pretty early in 2025, but I did not push myself to finish it last year. So that is the only outstanding book that I had to roll over into 2024. Well, I guess I technically started my first book of 2025 on New Year's Eve, but I wasn't trying to squeeze that in for 2024. That was just going to be my first read of 2025, and I just started it a little bit early. But yeah, so if you remember back at the beginning of this year, my initial reading goals were 50 books, 5,000 pages, and 500 audiobook hours. I did not hit any of those. So in December, I ended up backing down my goals just so I could still have the satisfaction of filling the progress bar, even though it's not what I initially set out to do. But to be fair, I did not anticipate the last 3 months being as mentally draining as they were. So I ended up backing down my reading goals to 40 books, 3,000 pages, and 300 audiobook hours. And I did end up hitting all 3 of those goals. So still a good amount, I would say, overall. Like 40 books, that's a lot of books. 3,000 pages is a lot of pages. 300 hours, it's a lot of hours. So I am pretty happy with what I did get to finish in 2024, all things considered. As far as the moods go for the books that I read in 2024, it is no surprise that my top moods are still mysterious, dark, and tense, but we did have some other moods sprinkled in there as well. We had 8 books that fell into the category of adventurous, 6 that fell into the category of funny, 6 for emotional, 4 for hopeful. I don't know what that says about me that only 10% of the books that I read were considered hopeful, but nonetheless, that's the stat. 3 were lighthearted, and there was 1 that was inspiring. Which one was inspiring? Okay, it's the only nonfiction self-help type book that I read this year. Sorry, I'm late, I didn't want to come. Makes sense, makes sense. Then the pace of the books that I read were 3% slow, 23% fast, and 74% medium. So clearly I have an affinity for medium-paced books. And also medium-sized books. 75% of the books that I read in 2024 were 300 to 499 pages, and then 25% were under 300 pages. As far as audiobook length goes, 19% of the books that I read were under 8 hours, 69% were between 8 hours and 15 hours and 59 minutes, and then 13% were 16 plus hours. Fiction versus nonfiction. I read 98% fiction this year and 1 singular nonfiction book that accounts for 3%. And that was Sorry I'm Late, I Didn't Want to Come, which was a book club pick for my work book club. We all should know here by now that I am not a nonfiction girly when it comes to reading for pleasure. My degrees are in history. I did enough nonfiction reading in school. I'm here for escapism now, so generally, I don't choose to read nonfiction books that often, and when I do, they're usually like of the memoir category, things like All About Me by Mel Brooks or The Storyteller by Dave Grohl. Those are the only nonfiction books that I tend to read. Every once in a while, I will put my little historian hat on and pick up one of the nonfiction history books off my shelves, but that is quite rare, to be honest, and that is reflected in this little pie chart. The genres of the books that I read this year will not really come as a surprise either. Top 2 categories are mystery and thriller, followed by fantasy, crime, romance, contemporary, classics, LGBTQIA+, horror, young adult, short stories, self-help, science fiction, memoir, literary, and historical. So, format of the books that I read in 2024 has changed a little bit, I believe. A vast majority of the books that I read in a given year are audiobooks, but I did make a conscious effort to try to do more physical reading in 2024, and I do think that I accomplished that, albeit it's only 20% of the books that I read, but hopefully we can get that number a little higher in 2025. Yeah, so I had 32 books this year that were audiobooks, and that accounts for 80% of the books that I read. Then I had 6 that were physical print books and 2 that were ebooks that I read on my Kindle. And then my most read authors this year were Agatha Christie, followed by Ruth Ware, Sarah J. Maas, Abby Jimenez, Riley Sager, Leigh Bardugo, and John Mars, which honestly sounds about right. Yeah, so most of those are either thriller authors or murder mystery writers. Then we have 2 fantasy authors and 1 romance author in Abby Jimenez, which, like, she is fastly becoming my favorite romance author. I have not read Just for the Summer yet, and I am honestly saving that for whenever I want some summery vibes, because I know I'm really gonna like that book. So she probably could have been a little higher if I would have read Just for the Summer when I read the other 2 books in that little trilogy, but I didn't do that. I decided to save that one for when I just really need a good book to pick me up and put me in a good mood and reinvigorate my love of reading. So then we have this little graph, which I think is interesting, and it shows the number of books in pages and minutes that I read throughout the year. So you can really see the ebbs and flows of what I was reading in what format during each month. And you can definitely see that it is a bit of a roller coaster. We had a really low January. I don't think I finished any books in January of 2024. And then in February, we had a bit of a spike, and then it dips down a little bit going to April, picks back up in June, dips in July, and then it has a steady trajectory up until we get to October, which is when that conversion I was talking about happened at work. And that is when yet another dip happened. And then we can see I really just went all in end of November, early December to try and finish out the year with a nice round number of books. And I ended up making it to 40. So yeah, as far as physical reading goes, we can see that like the first half of the year, I did way more physical reading than the second half of the year. And then as I was trying to catch back up on my reading goals, minutes listened really just skyrocketed, because that is the fastest way for me to finish a book. And then we get to the spread of my ratings for this year. So my average rating was a 3.89, which I do believe is lower than in the past. And you can see why, because like I said, I had several books that did not even make it to the 4-star range. So it may not look like it just from this graph, because you see the 4-star is the highest bar and you're like, what are you talking about? You have a lot of 4-star books. But literally almost half of the books that I read were under 4 stars, and they were just kind of underwhelming. I just remember feeling quite underwhelmed by several books that I read this year. And then I feel like there are several in the 4-star category that I think barely deserved a 4. But yeah, so it was more of a mid-year of reading for me, I feel. I didn't feel particularly excited about a lot of books that I read this year, and that makes it a lot harder to get through them. So hopefully I can turn that around this year. I feel like I'm off to a good start so far. It is the 4th of January right now, and I've already finished 1 book, and I have 2 other audiobooks that I'm in the process of reading. So I think that we're starting off this year pretty strong. So I'm trying to lean into this reading mood that I'm in right now early on in the year, so that I'm not hopefully scrambling as much come December to try and meet my goals. I would like just 1 year for me to hit my goal a little bit early and then just see how much I can exceed it. So yeah, that is it for the 2024 stats. And since I mentioned 2025 and my reading goals for it, let's go ahead and just establish what those goals are at the beginning of the year, and then we can adjust if needed later. So I basically just challenged myself to hit the reading goals that I set last year. So for 2025, I have my reading goals on StoryGraph set as 50 books, 5,000 pages, 500 hours. And I definitely think it's doable. It just really depends on what happens in my life this year, which is another reason why I really just want to lean into reading more now while I am excited about reading and have a desire to really dig into some books. For my birthday in October, one of my friends also got me one of these waiting for the night reading journals. I've never seen this before, but it is so pretty. Like, even the design of the pages on the inside is really pretty. And there's like a table of contents. There's like instructions on how to use all the different pages in here, because there's so much you can do in here. There's one of those little like cartoon bookshelves where you can write your titles of the books that you read and color the books in. And as you can see, I already did that with the first book that I read this year, Daisy Darker. And I made the mistake of using some alcohol markers because I thought that they looked really pretty. And they do look pretty, but they also bled through onto the other pages. So I don't think I'm going to be using those for the rest of these covers. At least if I do, I can't saturate the page as much as I did with this one. But yeah, it has a little page to set your reading goals, to track your reading for the day. And for my 2025 reading goals, I just put that my reading goal is to read more, enjoy reading more, and feel less pressure to hit X number of books. And then I wrote that I want to couple my reading with other things that I enjoy, like nature walks or crocheting, to make it more fun and do more things that I love in 2025. Yeah, so in December, I started doing a lot of crocheting while listening to audiobooks. I really enjoy crocheting, but it's something that I have to be seated and still to do. I feel like if I couple it with some of the reading that I want to do, it'll give me an excuse to sit down and crochet without feeling like I'm not doing anything productive, you know? At least that's my theory. So that's what I'm going to try to do in 2024. I've already been doing it. I've started making these little mesh market bags for some of my friends and my family, and it's nice to just be able to sit down with a good book and just listen while I focus on crocheting a bag. But yeah, this book is really cool. It has a reading tracker with titles, one-word summaries, and then a star rating. And there are also bigger review pages where you can get more into detail about what you thought about the book. There are questions about like what format you read it in, the title, the publication, how you felt about it. And then there are individual star ratings for things like the character, the plot, the pacing, writing style, all of that stuff. So I really like this book a lot, and I've been keeping it on my desk so that I can fill it out as I read in 2025. And I do already have my first physical book of the year picked out and ready to go. I'm going to be reading The God of the Woods. I'm going to try to read as much of this as I can physically, though this is a book club pick for my work book club, and she's a little hefty, so I may have to supplement a bit of the audiobook to make it all the way through this book, but hopefully I can at least read the majority of it physically and get to work on my physical reading goal for this year. I did also finish Assassin's Blade, so I am still working my way through the Throne of Glass series, and I am now on Heir of Fire, which I've been anticipating because that's where my friends say that it really gets gripping, and that's where it really picks up the pace story-wise. So I'm excited to dig into that as well, and I do have the physical book. It's just in another room, and I don't feel like going and getting it. That is pretty much it for my little life update / what I read in 2024 / what my plans are reading wise for 2025. So this is a bit of a cluster of a video. Hopefully you still enjoyed. It feels weird making this video when I know that I've been recording things, but you guys don't know what I've been doing because I haven't had time to edit and upload. So it's just, I don't know, it's just weird because I remember talking about things to the camera, but I probably haven't uploaded it yet. So hopefully this still made sense. So yeah, going forward in 2025, you can expect the same reading content that has always been here. Some travel content, some craft content. There will probably be a lot more crocheting content because I am in a bit of a crochet bender right now, and I just really enjoy crocheting. And I've been making just so many things. I literally bought this yarn today because this is my favorite yarn, the Bernat Baby Velvet. I've used this for years at this point, and I love it so much. It's so nice to work with because it's so soft. But yeah, I have a lot of crochet projects that I want to work on, so look forward to that as well if you're into crochet content. I find it really relaxing, and I feel like it goes well with reading, so hopefully you all agree, because This is what I like to do in my free time. Look forward to all of that coming soon. Now I think I'm gonna stop recording this video and I'm gonna go make a little sweater. Not out of this, I have some other yarn. I'm gonna be making a sweater out of this yarn. This is Big Twist Value Pound Plus, and it is in the color Cerulean Blue. I went and picked this up at Joann's this morning because they're still having their big yarn sale, so I've been hitting them up a lot recently to stock up while everything is still 30 to 40% off. And yeah, I'm gonna make a little sweater with this. Like, maybe I'll record it and I'll put it up on YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed this little rambly life update video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like down below. Let me know. You should also subscribe while you're down there because I put out new videos every single week. Well, at least I'm going to start putting out videos every week again. And yeah, I hope you all are having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next video.